The CSI effect refers to actually a number of different phenomena, but it really all revolves around the fact that the lay public have really come to expect that in almost any kind of courtroom situation that there will be forensic science evidence and that it's going to play a major role. There have been a few studies that have suggested that that is not really the case. However, that is a concern in the law enforcement community and as well as the legal community because it is coupled with this expectation that the forensic science is also going to be this incredible wow piece, and that's often not the case. It's not really true. There are some areas of investigation that fall under the umbrella term of forensic science. These are things like document examination or firearms that don't require a science degree. However, increasingly, the things that we consider to be forensic science do involve a science degree. And more the advertisements that you see out there for people in the forensic realm that need a forensic science degree are looking for not just chemists and biologists. That becomes a bit general. They're looking for biochemists and microbiologists. So they're getting relatively granular in what they're looking for. In many cases, and generally that is the case for many of the folks that I've spoken with, they spend a lot of time in the laboratory. That is changing, and it really depends upon the jurisdiction. If they're involved in law enforcement, because a lot of law enforcement agencies have seen merit in having the forensic scientists go out into the field and see what's involved in the field, as well as have some of the officers or agents see what's going on in the laboratory, having that cross perspective. People are seeing the value in that. Again, that is generally not the case. Very often, technicians or officers will be involved in the collection of evidence, but most of the evidence that really requires what we consider forensic science involves a lot of expertise in very specific areas. And so a forensic chemist, a forensic toxicologist, they're going to be analyzing very specific types of evidence, not all of the evidence. Well, the degree of certainty is usually pretty good, and where it isn't, that's something that most agencies are trying to develop enough background information and statistics in order to validate and verify the accuracy of the information. Quickly, nothing like is shown on TV. I get a chuckle once in a while when my family's watching some of the shows and I see them within the span of literally a minute and a half go from sample to complete DNA hit on CODIS, and knowing that it takes a long time to have these samples analyzed. The work that goes on there has to conform to the same laws of physics as the rest of the universe. Television is wonderful in that it doesn't have to conform to the laws of physics. Again, science has to conform to the laws of physics in the universe, and everything is open to interpretation. A forensic scientist has to present some sort of interpretation of the data that they find. And there might be some questioning about that interpretation at any point. And that is often what happens in the courtroom. That said, the data is the data. That doesn't get changed by the interpretation. Probably the perspective that is presented that you have a single individual who's capable of doing it all. Not only going out and collecting the evidence, but also carrying their gun, chasing down the bad guy, bringing them in, and then slapping the evidence in front of them and saying, "We have got you solid." It's often portrayed as people that can run all of the different types of machinery, equipment, and machines that are involved in the analyses. And the reality is, the microbiologists have to deal with microbiological samples. You need environmental scientists that are going to work with the unique aspects of environmental contaminations. And these are the kind of individuals, for example, that would go to work with the EPA. Biologists, biochemists, chemists, all of these things are involved in the individuals really being able to do their job very effectively. And I don't know of a single scientist that covers all of those different areas and do it well. Students should expect that they're going to need to study their science and their math. Here at the University of the Sciences, for example, whether a student goes into majors in, as I mentioned, microbiology, biology, biochemistry, straight up chemistry, environmental science, medical laboratory sciences, they're all going to have a very hard and solid grounding in the natural sciences and mathematics, and that's essential to any of these types of positions. As they move forward in their college training, in their undergraduate training, they're going to get more advanced coursework, but in their specific discipline. And then they could potentially go into jobs right out of an undergraduate degree. Students with a bachelor's degree are at least minimally qualified for many of the job postings that are out there for agencies or entities looking to hire forensic scientists. Often those are positions also that say that they would look at higher degrees, and so sometimes they're competing with higher degrees as well. But there's jobs with, as I mentioned, the Environmental Protection Agency, the FBI and CIA, all the federal agencies are hiring. There's jobs in the military for civilians, so without necessarily becoming a military person. The Army Investigative Command is hiring folks all the time, as well as the Naval Command. In addition, there are a lot of jobs in private industry for these type of individuals. There's a growing portion of our economy that represents laboratories, medical laboratories that are branching out to provide a forensic laboratory service to smaller communities, rural communities, suburban areas, as well as even sometimes larger communities that don't have their own laboratory setting or can't analyze the breadth of types of evidence that are out there. And they're finding that they can fill that niche and provide an important service. So going even into private industry, that is an option for students now. It varies. If a job opening calls for a minimum bachelor's degree or higher, and you know that there are a number of people trying to get that position who have a master's degree, well, with a bachelor's degree, you're competing against them. That doesn't mean that you wouldn't necessarily have the ability to get that position, depending upon one's training. A lot of the training programs out there are indeed, for the lack of better terms, jack of all trades type of degrees. And many of the institutions, agencies that are looking for individuals in these fields really want people with the hardcore science background. So someone with a bachelor's degree in hard science going for a position that's clearly looking for that, they're going to even edge out someone with a master's degree that's more of a generalist degree. A lot of the opportunities out there for more supervisory positions, they are often going to require a graduate degree, typically a master's degree or higher.